Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the whole point. And I no longer trust the media. They were supposed to be the check and balance, and I don't think that the names will surface because the media is in bed with the politicians. They're not a check on power anymore. And we are back with another episode of The Julius Files. I am your host, Jason Julius, and today we have an off the rails, and I have a full crew of co-hosts, so this ought to be pretty interesting, to say the least. We'll see what kind of in the news headlines happen to be brought up for discussion today. So, okay, I've got the Rebecca and Master Blaster Matt Bradshaw and Tori, to which we have not, I don't know, we haven't found a name for Tori yet. We got to work on that part of it. But yeah, okay. So,
and clearly you don't get to pick your own name.
Well, I mean,
I guess not.
We'll see what sooner or later something will arise. Okay, Mr. Bradshaw, what you are first today. You're skipping right over the ladies. How rude of you!
I'm first every time.
No, this is not true. This is not true. But okay, let's get on with it. We done picked you
every week. We're like, fact check this.
We picked you. What do you got?
All right, we got in the news today. Ghislaine Maxwell sentenced to 20 years for her involvement in the Epstein sex trafficking.
Oh, okay. Now, honestly, I was like, the name didn't quite ring a bell, but I mean,
her name doesn't ring a bell.
No, I don't pay. I mean, I'm familiar. As soon as you said the Epstein thing, I'm like, oh, she was the madam that was like in cahoots with him for the
one that owned the submarines, to run little kids under the water.
She owned the submarines?
Yes.
Oh, so I mean, they were moving assets into her name, because I'm like, okay, well,
that was her. That was what she brought to the table, and the grand picture was like she had a fleet of submarines.
And she's like, I got the subs, and you got the planes, and we can have an island. And wow, okay, so 20 years.
Only 20 years.
Only 20 years.
Which mean?
I mean, so is she going to miraculously hang herself?
She is on suicide watch, if I'm remembering correctly.
I didn't read the whole article.
They'll have a camera malfunction there too. That's
probably. She's not going to serve 20 years.
No, but I mean, I'm sitting there going, she's still alive now. She's already had to have spilled her guts on.
Well, I mean,
so what is
her trial
that?
was sealed. Yet we got to watch Johnny Depp and Amber Heard go at it.
Well, that's just very. So if her trial was sealed, doesn't that like become public knowledge like in 10 or 20 or 30 years, or it's just sealed?
If it's normal people, something like that.
Oh, okay, but this is not normal people stuff.
That's high up people.
Because this would have trashed the politicians that were involved. Yeah, that's okay.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. But they're protecting us. It's for our safety. I'm
for
sure.
Your own good.
Yeah, it's for exactly. Okay. Wow. Does anybody else have anything to opine on this news headline? I mean, that's I know that was quite in the news for a long time, and I mean the story itself was, I mean, that was pretty freaked out. Nothing that surprises me of the elite rich. That none of that surprises me at all. But
I mean, it should be life or the death penalty.
I mean, honestly, I'm like, because I don't know the entire story, but I do know that minors were involved, and yes, it was
like all minors
for that very reason right there. No, I'm not. I'm with you.
Submarines.
Yeah, that's really screwed up. I mean, submarines. What's that?
Private islands. It's a whole secluded operation.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like the submarines, that's next level stuff. Like the jet, that don't surprise me. Private island, that don't surprise me. But submarines, that's
you gotta have a special license, like to which she held the special license.
Wow. I mean,
of course, it's just for research,
research and development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, wow. She didn't list the reasoning for trafficking kids.
Okay. Well, I mean. So I guess we have to say justice was served. I don't. I mean, at least there's been an end put to it, but there are people involved that are probably breathing a little bit easier because their name didn't hit the headlines. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's the whole point. And I no longer trust the media. They were supposed to be the check and balance, and I don't think that the names will surface because the media is in bed with the politicians. They're not a check on power anymore. They are right there in bed with them.
They were on the island.
Yeah, that's literally, that's where I'm like, so no, I don't know that the names ever surface because, well, one, I mean, because today's news is like a bullshit blogger makes a story and then another higher profile blogger claims that story as the source. And before you know it, you escalate all of the lies up the channel to where, no, I don't think justice was served. I don't think all the information came out, and I don't think it ever will.
Time will tell.
Just my 2 cents. I'm on the other side of it. This definitely comes back to I'm saying what you're thinking, because I know anybody that is listening to this knows damn well I'm right. That's okay.
Or if she serves her full time, she's going to write a book.
I think she writes a book whether she serves her full time or not. I mean, she can probably, that government tax dollars is giving her the pen and paper to produce her words. I mean, and I mean, if she serves her full time and walks out, she won't owe any restitution. So she'll be able to roll right back into the media that will prop her back up and give her a book deal and lavish her with riches all over again.
You never did hear anything about the DC madam once they caught her. Like, her book of secrets never came out.
That's about the time she wants to publish the book. That's when the suicide happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So moving on, eeny, meeny, miny. All right. What do you got?
Mine is a very brief headline today.
Uh-oh. But hopefully it's brief but good.
Yes.
Okay.
It says entrepreneurship in the U.S. is slowing. So Rebecca and I were talking about it, and we chop it up to they don't have entrepreneurship money just to kind of like throw around at their extra projects.
I disagree with that. The entrepreneurship is an entrepreneurial spirit, and that is what is going by the wayside. Anybody that wants to get into entrepreneurship, I mean, that's the whole bootstrapping. I very much, my comings up were very much bootstrapped. It wasn't about having access to money. It's literally about motivation. And this goes back to what we've been dealing with.
Well, I mean, it takes some money to get started.
I mean, well, at varying levels. That's why me being just a big dummy. I mean, I went into retail selling coffee where you order, you pay me money right now. I give you your cup, you go down the road. And that's been something new for me to learn with the purchase of Vickers of they order. They give us no money. We have to order the garment from the manufacturer. Then we have to decorate the garment. Then we call them and say, your order is ready. And they're like, no problem. I'll pay you in 30 days. To which 45 days later, you're like, will you please come pay me? Because I've already paid my labor, paid out for my overhead, paid the manufacturer. And a lot of business is like that, where you have accounts payable and accounts receivable. And if you don't have some type of rainy day fund, I mean, you have to have a certain amount of cash in the bank for that cycle of accepting an order, performing the business, delivering the goods, delivering the invoice, and then waiting to actually be paid. So,
month and a half,
yeah, that's you look at the car industry where it's like, okay, they engineer a prototype. Well, then they have to invest the money for the 3 years to actually get it to actual market, the whole time that they're paying for the development, paying for the labor, paying for all of their expenses before they can actually sell it 3 years later to start generating money. And I mean, a lot of business is that way, but that's also why you saw the huge move with software and the SaaS products, where it's about spending research and development. Okay, then you get it spidered into your systems where you're developing monthly recurring revenue. That, okay, all of the expenses are done. Now you're generating that recurring revenue, but there's a startup side of it. But that's not what we're going back to what Tori brought up. I don't think it's not about money. I think it's a mentality. And when you spend 2 years telling people to sit at home and don't pay their bills and will pay you to sit at home, because it wasn't just sit at home and do nothing. It was sit at home and do nothing, and we will pay you to sit at home and do nothing, and you're receiving the same money that you would have had you worked, and don't pay your landlord. So now they're teaching you for 2 years, sit at home and do nothing and skirt your responsibilities. That breeds a certain amount of entitlement and laziness, where entrepreneurship is hard. Why would people want to go into entrepreneurship? It's hard. You have a generation that expect it to come easy, and that generation is about ready to learn some very painful lessons, because I have been telling all of you, we need to prepare for a depression and hope that it's just a recession. And this generation that has never known hardship, that it has been very spoiled, very entitled, very easy access to anything and everything.
So much money, everybody got participation trophies.
That's and they're about ready to find out what hyperinflation does and what a recession is. And I just pray to God that it doesn't turn into a depression. But the reality is, it's not going to have any effect on the rich. This is going to have an effect on the poor and the middle class.
It never affects the rich.
No. Well, it's just like these energy policies. I'm like, don't tell me that you support the poor and the middle class, because the rich does not give a shit if you're at $10 a gallon for gas, but the poor and the middle class do. I mean, that is where that you want to see where there is divergence of the rich to the poor. Okay, well, look at your energy policies. Look at your policies that you're running in this country. Okay, they are only going to have an effect on the poor and the middle class. So we have our own government keeping their thumbs on the mass of the population, and then sitting there on their pulpit talking about the divergence between the rich and the poor, when it's their policies that are actually creating the problem. It's a crock of, but the point being, doesn't surprise me that entrepreneurial spirit would be waning, because things have come too easy, and we go back to that sensitivity, like this generation of sensitivity. That shit's going to change. Why? Because I can look at it and say, I have been desensitized because I have literally had to struggle, because I've seen economic cycles of pain. And it is desensitizing. I'm just proud that I haven't let myself necessarily get jaded. I mean, my dad is at this point, he is very jaded in a lot of the ways that he looks at life. Well, man's pushing 70 years old. He's seen a lot of shit.
I had a good conversation with him today.
Did you really?
I
That's
did.
Okay. And he's excited at 70 now to be finally turning into I don't even
Gypsy?
know. I was about ready to say vagabond, but I don't even know if it's basically the dude. My dad is
Gypsy's pretty close.
He's selling his house. He bought a truck. He bought a fifth wheel, and he's living his life traveling America to see the sights, and no place to call home other than where he happens to pull over and say, okay, this is home for however long it's going to be. He had a word for it, where like he wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time in
Nomadic?
Nomad is another word, but I don't know if that's because I think that he's used that one, but like he's not going to, he doesn't have a lot of intention of staying at like RV parks. He's got the generator, and he plans on just like
keep moving.
Yeah, pitching a tent wherever he wants to. And there's an in particular word for it that he was using, but
I don't know, but I think it's a great idea.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. More power to him. My dad has always been so big on responsibility that I feel like his life flew by. I mean, I'm all about responsibility, but I mean, at 70 years old, first it was, he took custody of me and my sister, and it was, okay, got to work 2 and 3 jobs to raise kids. Well, he raised kids. Then about the time my grandfather got sick and had a stroke, and then it was, okay, well, got to take care of his own father. And then Papa passed away 2 years ago. And so now, like, he's finally decided, okay, I've lived up to all my responsibilities. Now I'm going to start. Yeah, now I'm free, and I'm going to start living. And I'm like, it's a shame that, because it was his own head, he took responsibilities very seriously. But at 70, he's finally now starting to look towards.
Hey, 70 is like the new 30.
Is that what it is? I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I know 40 and 50 are supposed to be like the new 30, but wow. Okay, that kind of we took that. And
we went off the rails.
Yeah, we were way off the rails. I think we might have hit both side rails before we went off the rails on that one. But okay, Miss Rebecca, what do you have for us today?
Well, I have a sad story. In Texas, they had a semi that found 46 people, and there were 12 of them that were still alive. Maybe it wasn't that many. There were 4 children. I remember that part, and some adults. And I just think, what a horrible way to die. They were immigrants from Mexico, Guatemala.
In a semi-trailer in the sun.
A semi-trailer, and they just abandoned it. They just left them there to bake.
They didn't open the back door, nothing. They just literally just stopped it.
No ventilation, nothing. They just left them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bad way to die.
No, I mean, I don't even want to think about that because I don't, but I get that. That's like literally cooking to death. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
And there was children there too. So like, I can't imagine that.
Well, and I mean, because that kind of splits a lot of different ways. I mean, like they paid money to be put into that situation because where they were coming from was so bad that they were willing to put themselves, not only to pay money, but to literally,
but in that situation,
yeah, get into the back of a semi truck with it being locked behind them
in the summer,
and expecting to be let out on the other side of the border. That's just, it's sad all the way through because I mean, I'm one of those people. It's funny because you look at the game of risk, and then I look at these other countries, and I'm like, you know what? These borders have been determined for a long time. Why can't we all just get along and respect all of our shit? But when Trump was like, build a wall, I'm sitting there going, buy Mexico, trail it all the way down to the pinch point of getting into, I don't know if it's Venezuela.
Panama.
Yeah, I mean, it gets down to that very small pinch point, and I'm like, yeah, build a wall there, but buy Mexico. And I mean, we've already got NAFTA, so like turn it into legitimate, just all of North America, break down the boundaries. And I don't know if it's I know that it's more complicated than that because you got the politics of like the Mexican government don't want to give up their power. The cartels control the government.
About the cartel,
exactly.
We'll
but
go ahead and kill a whole city.
I mean,
just
we do so much with Mexico that I'm like, yeah. I mean, that to me that would have been a bold move by Trump. America buys Mexico.
Well, Mexico would never sell.
No,
especially not to Trump.
I mean, and that would be stupid of them for obvious reasons because it is as screwed up as things are here, huh?
They're getting rich off the drug cartel.
Well, but that
you either get on the take or you get killed.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, that's a handful of people. That's not like hundreds of thousands of people. No, it's a small handful of people. And if you go in there and turn the peso into the dollar and kind of let those lines be blurred, then the people would be able to flourish. And it's just my 2 cents that I think America should have bought Mexico.
I just think we just need to tax the immigrants, like get them documented when they come over. And
no, but I think that it's the illegal immigrants because regular immigrants are paying taxes.
We could take them.
Mm-hmm. No, that's my whole thing. Is that
drove every corner.
Well, look, America is a mutt. It's a melting pot of all different. Come one, come all. They should be documented. I mean, like, if you're going to have a nation of laws, okay, well, then that everybody is supposed to be accounted for. We're all supposed to pay into the system.
When I don't know when your family came over, but like anybody could come.
Yeah,
like get on the boat and go on over there. When you get there.
Well, I mean, and I've never been to New York, but I mean, as far as I know, the Statue of Liberty is you got to sign. Give us your poor. Give us your
weak. Yep.
Yeah, that's
hungry too. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, and I was reading a book about that where I'm like, you know what, that makes perfect sense. Why America has bred such greatness, because anybody that is willing to take the risk to uproot themselves from what they know and travel to an unknown, That's entrepreneurial spirit right there. So give us your weak, give us your poor. Like, those people are the ones that are willing to risk it all. That is entrepreneurial spirit.
Fun fact, you know who built the Statue of Liberty?
I thought it was the French.
It was the French.
Okay.
I knew that too.
I'm not completely dumb, but I mean, yeah, I'm not necessarily a self-proclaimed historian either, but I know a couple things.
A lot of people think we did.
No.
No.
Oh, no. I thought it was, they built it and it was a gift, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, yes, sad story. I mean, that shit needs to stop, but I'm sitting there going, you would have thought of course, I guess that there's so much commerce that you can't stop every semi and open up the back of every semi realistically, that to be able to, but that is sad.
I mean, the technology we have, they should be able to tell if there's people in the back.
Yeah. I mean,
they would be able to tell if there's drugs in there too, but
they got the dogs for that. I mean, if you got the heat sensors, you'd think that they would be able to pick up on it.
Hugely ineffective, though.
Really?
Yeah, the dogs are set on command just to give them cause.
Okay.
Like that, much like the TSA, they're not really doing anything. They're just there to make you feel better.
Well, that wasn't no different than the masks don't really do anything, but it makes you feel better when you see people wearing them.
Like dogs can detect drugs, but more times than not, they don't.
It just gives the probable cause.
Right, to which then they usually find something.
Okay, that's wow.
They're not dogging you unless you usually have a charge or they know.
Yeah. Okay, moving on so that we can wrap this up, because this does start to kind of play a little bit into your headline. It's almost unbelievable. People are having their job offers rescinded days before they start. And this goes back to what I've been telling you guys, and I mean, I've been pretty. Honestly, it's not happy. I'm almost a little mad at myself to let expenses that I'm like, I can't believe that these expenses that are not necessary expenses that I've let creep into the business, but we're cutting them. And I've told everybody, prepare for a depression and hope that it's just a recession. And why am I hate to be melodramatic, but I'm like, when you see 30% inflation in 1 year, when you see $5 a gallon gas prices and energy policies that says that there's no end in sight, when you see interest rates go from 3.25% to 6 and 7, and know damn well they're on their way to 8 and 9%, like when you know that they paid everybody for 2 years to sit at home and they told them, don't pay your landlord. Okay, well, real estate owners, the source of what makes them able to pay their mortgage is the people that they rent to. So when you're crashing real estate, telling people to stay home, which is crashing commercial real estate, as you're skyrocketing interest rates, as you're printing money, but not letting that money coming to America, you're sending it out into the rest of the world, causing hyperinflation. Like all of these things combined, yeah, we're finding a whole lot of people that have taken their foot off the gas, very much to the point of slamming on the brakes. So it does not surprise me to see that headline where people that were once in major hire mode are in stop all hiring and start looking at layoffs. And the reality of it is we have some pain headed towards us, that just rescinding job offers is a tipping point. It is a sign for what is to come, and it's a shame, because the economy was really humming along pretty damn well, and in 2 years it has been totally turned upside down.
The direct attack on any landlord.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because landlords went under, so then investment banks took all the real estate and it'll never come for sale again.
No, and that's what I said, because, you've got some of those places that they've been holding on to cash, and then when you say hyperinflation, you got to get that cash put into an asset in general. But like inflation is part of how we have quote unquote grown as a nation, because you can make $100 promise today, and by inflation, that $100 will become $200 inside of a couple years, just out of natural inflation. But the actual dollar amount itself, not the value of it, because all we're doing is just killing the value of the dollar. But any which way, there is a whole lot of people that take a lot of things for granted, and we have a rude awakening coming to a lot of people because they have grown up in a time thinking it should always be this easy, and they've never experienced hard times. And like, I just hate being pessimistic and being like dark days are upon us. But the reality is you can't watch.
Dark days are upon us.
You can't watch all of these things coming and not expect something bad to come out of it. You cannot come with energy policies that directly strip the middle and lower class of all expendable income. You can't cause hyperinflation like this and not expect bad things to come out of it.
Yeah, and this time Indiana's really in the bad spot on that.
That's they're
doubling the gas tax, 30% increase on power.
That's because I hear them talking about their BS gas holiday, and then our dipshit wants to chime in about a federal tax holiday, and I'm thinking 20 cents a gallon don't mean dick. Like, you want a gas tax holiday? Give us $1. $2 off per gallon. Do something that's going to have a real impact, because when gas is $5 a gallon, we don't give a shit that you give us a holiday and it drops to $4.80 a gallon.
Yep.
Like, it does not matter. That does nothing. It might give you something to blow smoke up your own ass at a bully pulpit, but it does not do anything to give